What would you say to someone that's like, yeah, Braxton, door-to-door sales isn't a real job?
I would ask them what a real job is. I work to have money, to have freedom, to put food on the table. Well, what if I can do that now instead of 10 years later? 23 years old, married, beautiful wife, by the way. I had a family incident last year. I dropped everything, work aside, and nothing's holding me back. I call that financial freedom. I can go visit my family, travel with Lexi.
You're basically working crazy for 4 months and then very flexible the rest of the year. Real freedom.
No one's happy working at their Amazon, their FedEx. How sucky are you willing to go to like reap your reward? Choose your hard. I'm willing to choose my hard for 4 months.
What's up, you guys? Thanks for tuning in to the Purpose Driven Persuasion podcast, where if you're a highly ambitious person, you're going to learn how to go from being unfocused to unstoppable, and specifically by applying the tactics, strategies, and learning from the results of persuasion and influence demonstrated at a high level. What that means for you is by applying the things we talk about in this podcast of sales skills or persuasion and influence, you can become the most persuasive, influential, and impactful version of yourself and better serve the people around you that you love and care about the most. I'm your host, Hayden Schaap. For the last 10 years, I've obsessively tried to learn, apply, and teach these skills of persuasion and influence at the highest level and have seen incredible results in my own life and the people that we've worked with. And that's what we're talking about. Give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on all of the audio platforms as well. Make sure you follow for more. If you get some value out of this, I'd really appreciate it if you shared it with somebody else as well, because I think a lot of people could benefit. Enjoy the episode, guys. All right, Braxton Hatch,
Cool.
Welcome to the podcast.
Honored.
We still don't know what this is or what it's called or where it's going, but
We're doing it.
We're doing it, dude. We're just going to send it. Yeah, let's just start off with like some of your credentials. Why should anyone listen to you? And you're a humble guy, although confident, but still humble. And so I guess I'll just point out some of my version of your highlight reel, and then we can talk more about it.
Cool.
And then we'll talk about just what you've been successful at. I want to talk about crypto a little bit too. And investing, even though we're in a bear market, like hardcore right now, probably going to be more of a bear market soon. Okay, so this is your second year selling pest control. Did you do a full like season of solar before pest, or was it like a blitz type of deal?
It was whatever we wanted it to be. It was just
funny. Yeah,
it was
sounds about right.
Would show up, and then I didn't have a lot of responsibility, so I literally would just go sell.
Yeah.
Go to the beach, like work ethic.
In California,
South Carolina,
Charleston. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So you did that. That was your previous sales experience before.
Yeah.
And you've owned a cinnamon roll business that was similar to Crumble, like delivery of cinnamon rolls.
Yeah. I don't know if they would call it that, but I would call it that. Yeah, we started a cinnamon, or my buddy and I ran the cinnamon roll business, and just realized doing the kitchen was not for me. So
doing the kitchen.
Got back out on the doors.
That's awesome. And you have invested and made a lot of money in crypto and dude, what else? I mean, I'm doing general first and then like specific highlights of what you've accomplished. And what else would you add in terms of like business, sales, kind of background? That's a lot. How old are you? You're 22?
23.
23?
Yeah. 23.
Just turned 23 recently. And I mean, that's a lot to have done and you're only 23 years old.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's my wife, I don't know how she does it, but she puts up with me. Yeah, I'm always on to the next new thing, or crypto wise and investment wise. I'm always, my dad was like you. I was 32 roughly when he finally finished like med school and finished $200K in debt and doing all this, and he was like, dude, what you're doing right now, if I can go back, I would be in your spot.
Dang.
Yeah.
And you just spent a whole week with your dad too. So
yeah, just spent a week with him, and he liked the golf simulator and Red Ledges.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then specifically with us, your first year, what was your goal your first year selling with us?
Goal my first year was honestly just to figure it out. I was like, dude, I just want to figure it out and have the work ethic, because like everyone talks about the pest control guys, they just work the hardest and like they just make like okay money. And I was like, interesting. Like, I'm just going to go check it out, take a break from solar industry, see if it's accurate, work as hard as I can, which one, by all means, like you guys work hard. like pest control by far works super hard. Yeah, us guys. So I did that, and then I started realizing from your experience, Braden, Tim, that dude, you can make whatever money you want to make here. It's just self-discipline and what you want. And once I figured that out, I was like, dude, this is sick.
Game over.
I like this.
So how much did you make your first summer then?
First summer came out $115,000.
Nice.
$1,000 first summer.
Nice.
So
rookie summer, you made 115 grand.
Yeah.
That's huge. And when did you get married?
January 16th.
So it would have been like a year prior to selling, to starting to sell, right?
So yeah, I literally, Braden Connor texted me like 17 times to like come out and sell. I actually signed with somebody else. Didn't end up going out with them. Listened to Braden for a little bit more. Finally got married, and he's like, hey dude, I'm gonna fly you out to Texas for leadership retreat. Or not retreat, but just to see what the leadership meetings are like.
Yeah. Because we were meeting at Tim's place for our team lead stuff.
2 days after my wedding, flew out to that, and I was like, it's a good place.
So 115K your first summer, and then came back as a team lead for us this last year, and had a squad, just killed it. Units. How much did you make this second season?
165.
Nice. 165. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. So my and one of the top performers in the office personally while leading a team, which for me that's always really impressive. And I wish more people would view leadership that way, of like leading from the front and really killing it in their own personal sales.
Yeah.
So I was very grateful that you did that this year.
Thanks. Yeah.
What was the most, so like, let's go to your first summer. What was the most challenging part of figuring it out and accomplishing what you did? It's like making that 115K.
I would say getting my guys to believe in themselves. So like what happens is when I was like, I want to lead from the front, like you just said.
Okay.
I don't want to be that guy in Utah telling my guys what to do, or, just be sending them off to the doors like, oh, what's Braxton going to do?
I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to be that guy that like gets on the doors, like they see that like I'm a credible source. They can listen to me because I'm doing what they're doing. If not doing more than what they're doing. And so they can see like what they need to do that.
Yeah.
But really getting them to believe in themselves instead of saying like, oh, Braxton's just a different breed. Like he's Braxton. Like, no, that they can actually do that same thing. Like getting them to see like, oh, like I can do this. Like a lot of self-belief. And really once it was cool to see that transition in a couple reps, like, it went from, I'm not getting this training or I'm not doing that to, I can control the outcome.
This. Dude, that's huge, because I mean, I've been in offices in the past, especially early on in my career, where like there was maybe one or two guys that were killing it is all. And so like everyone would view them as like the anomaly, right?
Yeah.
So they would almost use that as like, I don't know, a way to like justify their own mediocrity. It's like, well, I'm not so-and-so, so like, of course I can't sell that well. But so I like what you're saying, which is like, you wanted to perform really well, but also instill belief that they could do it too, which that's like part of the essence of real leadership, I think. What did you do to instill that belief in them? Because you had guys that did very well and like guys that went from like their first year to their second year that improved like astronomically too.
Yeah. I would say a lot of things actually before the summer. Like I won't go into too much detail, but one of my reps, Salsa Bill, like straight killer. Showed up last year, he literally made the decision. Like he was like, yeah, I'm going to sell in the summer. He's like, oh, actually like a week before, like, I don't know. And then went to Idaho on a vacation and then literally calls me, hey, I'm 2 days in to Georgia sleeping in my car. But like a lot of things that he did in the off season, meetings with him, training him, working on his inner game, obstacles that didn't even include sales.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's helped him double 2x his income from last summer to this summer.
It's cool that we have like the chance to experience that and to help, like very significantly help people change their lives and their families' lives too. Because he's got a bigger why than just selling for himself. It's
his why is super cool. Yeah. Super cool. He's like, it's not even about the money. He's like, the money's great though.
But he loves winning, which is great too. Because a lot of guys that they say like, oh, it's not about the money for me. Some people say that like to justify like mediocrity. But for him, it's like, it's not about the money, but because there's a deeper why, he's like wants to perform at a super high level.
Yeah, I can share this actually.
Okay.
Salzbill, he said the biggest thing about him is before he did sales, he said he could never believe in himself because of his past history.
Oh, okay.
He said after one summer and the program that Moxie's provided for him, he believes he can do anything. I mean, right now he just forked out $5,000 to do bodybuilding. He's always wanted to do bodybuilding. He loves physical health and stuff like that, fitness. Now he's going to Salt Lake.
Hired a coach, right?
Hired a coach 3 times a week. Found a coach. Yep, does everything. So like he literally talks different, walks different, holds himself different.
Dude, it's night and day. Yep. I gave him a ride home the other day from the gym. I was just like, saw him. He's like, dude, I just sold my car. What's up, man? And he wasn't asking for a ride. I was like, hey, I'll just give you a ride. He's like, no way, seriously? I'm like, dude, yeah. I'm like, of course, I'll give you a ride. So we're talking in the car, and I was like, dude, just from the first time I met Salzbill to right now talking to you, it's just like you're a different person. Just like your level of confidence and surety of yourself. Man, just made me really, again, is one of those moments where like, feeling really proud of what we do. That's a lot deeper than just selling pest control door to door. You know, it's so much deeper than that. Talk to me more about like some things that you do to help instill belief in in the people that you work with and manage, so that they can perform at a high level, make really good income, and ultimately just be very successful during the summer.
Yeah, definitely extreme ownership.
Okay.
A lot of my guys tease me. There's a saying that I always say. I'm just like, they'll call me, hey, Braxton, cops are coming. Karen, somebody just
it's raining outside.
Yeah, it's raining. And then I'm just like, hey, like, Kian, just make it happen. Like, just learn how to make it happen.
Make it happen. That's your phrase.
It's literally my phrase. They're like, oh, dude, we're gonna get shirts. Like you've said it like 1,000 times.
Make it happen.
I'm like, dude, like you understand what to do, how to get over it. Like figure out a way to win. Like find a way to win. Make it happen.
Yeah.
And so that's like my little quote that I like tell them all the time. Like they probably get sick of it, but I'm like always like, hey, like make it happen. Like how can we get over this?
Well, dude, that mindset's the essence of being a proactive person, right? It's like, I feel the same way when people, dude, literally as a team leader, you ever get guys that text you or call you and like, hey, Braxton, is it raining where you're at? It's like, I'm like 2 neighborhoods over from you, bro. It's not raining over here. It's like freaking get back on the doors and like start winning. It's not that hard.
No, literally.
You know, that was always my favorite. Is it raining where you are?
Yeah.
As if it's somehow different. Like there's different clouds that are like 2 feet over you versus me. But yeah, it was the same thing. It's like, it does not matter what's happening around you. Like you have control over the outcomes if you choose to. So yeah, just make it happen.
Yeah. That's literally like, if I could put my summer in like a quick summary of like how I've been able to like instill beliefs into my reps is learn how to make it happen.
Cool.
And then I showed them how to like make it happen. So like they've witnessed.
Yeah, because you're doing it day in and day out.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of like I don't know how that looked during the sales season? Yeah, I want to hear some stories.
Kian's from Oregon.
Yeah.
0 sales experience ever. Like, I mean, I think he worked at like a car dealership like for a little bit, but like, I just told him like, hey, dude, I believe in you. I know you like your fullest potential. You like just talking to you. I know you have a growth mindset, so you'd be a great fit for this.
Yeah.
Got him out here. Dude, he has no idea. He's from Oregon. Now he's selling in Atlanta. He's like, oh my gosh, what the heck? But he, you know, he's going hard. I think it's the 2nd day. And he's like, dude, they told me to leave the neighborhood. I'm like, hey, dude, just believe me. You're totally fine. Just make it happen. Like, you're fine. Like, there's sales in there. He had 0. It's like half the day's over.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, okay. Hangs up. And little does he know, I actually got back in my car, drove into his neighborhood, re-edited his area so that way I have half of it to knock next to him.
Oh, let's go.
And
dude, that's savage.
And as I'm getting there and pulling in, he calls me again. He's like, hey, dude, like the HOA president just drove by again, told me to like leave. Next thing you know, he's knocking on a door, turns around, I'm right behind him. And I'm like smiling, closes his first deal ever in front of me with that customer.
Let's go.
Only thing I said is, Kian, close. And the lady's like, what? And I'm like, yep, just close.
Dude, let's go.
He sold 4 that day.
Wow.
So literally from then, I don't think I got another call ever about cops or Karens or HOA presence, because he learned, like it's one, that's just like a smoke screen. It doesn't matter. Like it matters how much you make it matter.
Right.
So yeah, Kian learned how to make it happen. And so anytime that he like has something, it looks at me, he's like, just make it happen.
Just make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, dude, okay, so let me point out a couple things there. And you just did, but I want to reiterate them. one, you like verbally are telling people like, just do what it takes to win, make it happen. Yeah. Right. It's like, that's the mantra, and they're hearing that, which is powerful, but that's not enough to get someone to actually like go do that in their own like life or in their own sales world. Right.
Yeah.
So now you get a situation where someone's doubting their ability to make it happen because of outside circumstances, which are pretty valid in their mind, right? Like if you've never sold before and someone in the neighborhood's telling you to leave, it's like, you don't know what that means. Like, is someone going to call the cops? Yeah. It's like, what's going on, right? So they don't understand how like big of a variable that actually is in their ability to sell or not. So instead of just saying, no, I'll make it happen, and then just like hanging up and like, I'm going to go back and sell, you went and like proactively. So you did two things. You like put yourself in the same scenario, because I'm imagining you're thinking like, all right, I'm going to show Kian that you can sell in this area because he's thinking you can't sell in this area. I'm going to show him that you can.
Yep.
So you're going to be the example. But then also, I think the most powerful thing that you did in that situation was like you walked him through how to make it happen by being on his team and like being there with him. And I just don't think most team leads or managers would even think to do that or want to, or have like the guts to go like figure out how to do that with their reps.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that you guys sold so well, because if that's what you were doing, I'm sure that wasn't the only time, right?
Yeah,
so it's probably a microcosm of how you did the entire summer with them.
Yeah, no, yeah,
that's huge.
I love to do it just because like I like to let them know I'm there for them. Like, dude, like I'm here, and like I actually like to just show up just randomly. I'll literally just pick up a rep randomly, show up.
Yeah,
I'm segueing like 5 houses behind. They're just pounding the pavement, and then they turn around and see me, and then Tommy throws his hands up. What the heck? Yeah. So it's just like super cool to let them know like, hey, dude, like I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what to do. I'm here with you. Like
doing it with you.
Yeah.
And I'm on your team. I'm by your side. Like I got you.
Yeah.
That's cool. But you're also not doing it for them though.
No.
Which is really kind of tricky, right? Because like for some managers, it's easy for you to just step in and like do the work for people, but like that's also kind of productive because then they don't ever learn how to do it themselves.
Yeah, I looked at it as like just hindering them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a fine balance.
And they already know I can sell. I mean, I think it was like 150 accounts out. Like they already know I'm slinging, like throwing 10 a day, and then they're like, they already know I can sell. So realistically, I want to get them to sell, so they need to sell, and then I give them the feedback.
Yeah, huge.
Is how I do it.
Let's talk about like off the doors, like your training. What did your training look like with guys to get them to sell well, but not like in the field? So off the doors. How would you train them? Like what were some things you focus on that you found worked really well to get guys to perform at a high level?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say like pretty much one, I got to figure out like what they're running into.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed a lot of people will do trainings and it's irrelevant to like everyone having the same problem, but like people just gonna want to like train on something that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So for me, I always like to start the meeting like, hey, like what are we running into? And then like someone will say something, oh my gosh, yes, I'm like running into that. And then on the spot, like I've already put in thought and like what I want to train them and this and that. Yeah. But if it says something otherwise, then I pretty much just curate whatever they're running into.
Okay.
Cool. And then a lot of it too, like at least half the summer, we started putting in a lot of like mindset. So like we would literally just do like on the big TV, Wim Hof. Just throw Wim Hof. All of them are calm. They're like, Braxton, you're like super calm up there. Usually I'm like an Energizer bunny.
That's awesome.
So they're like, yeah, you're super calm. But like ideally just helping them understand like the different variables of sales. Okay. Because I mean, we all love role playing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So like we
love it or hate it.
Yeah. Sarcastically. Yeah. Like, oh, role plays again. But like ideally just helping them understand like, and I could be wrong, but I believe sales, like all the variables, the inner game is 80 to 90%.
They're way more important.
Doesn't matter what you say.
Yep.
Matters how you feel.
Yep.
What you show them, your facial expressions, and that's naturally just going to go on how you feel.
100%.
Because if you're getting nervous on the doors, if you like don't want to be there and this and that, like I can tell right when you knock on my door.
Yep.
So realistically, I just wanted to train them. I know Wiley, it's kind of cool. He was out knocking first of the summer, and then I literally shadowed him and I'm like, oh dude, it's your body language. Like absolutely, like you're so stiff and like you're like a robot, like doing the robot on the doors. And then once he changed that, I think he went and sold like 2 or 4 like back to back.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, hopefully that answered your question.
No, that's huge. So yeah, because the question being what sales principles have you applied to help your guys kill it and make their, 40, 50, 60K in their first year. I feel like that's what you're getting at. And it's making a lot of sense to me why your people did so well. So what I'm hearing though, is you're saying making trainings very relevant to them. So if you are going to do skills training, you're trying to find out like, what do people actually need right now that's relevant, right? So like, what are you seeing with people on the doors that I can help train you on in real time instead of focusing on something that you might not even need right now? Because so for example, in the first 5 weeks of the summer, you don't want to train rookies on how to close like after price because they're not even getting enough people to price to have big days yet. So you want to train them on the first 4 seconds of the intro or like how to transition through smoke screens and objections. That's way more important than, your 10th objection after price or like the Forrest Gump pattern,
Absolutely.
Everybody listens to the Forrest Gump and they're like, oh, this is so sick. They want to use it. And then they're like, they use it and it doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, because you never had the customer's trust.
Yeah.
So like of course this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So 1, you're training people on relevant principles that in real time. And then 2, you're focusing on inner game principles, which are actually way more important. And your theory being, if I can help my guys feel good and actually be confident from the inside out, then it actually fixes a lot of the outward stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And that's something I've always believed too, is like, we teach tactical confidence, but if you can learn and master the principles of the inner game and how to win in your mindset and like we'd say mind and heart, basically.
Yeah.
It fixes so much of the outward stuff. Like you'll talk with certainty if you feel confident inside. But if you don't feel confident about yourself, then good luck trying to mimic certainty. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge thing. Am I getting that right so far?
Absolutely.
What you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And dude, that's exactly what I would say as well. It's funny because like before I developed the foundations modules training, my team that year, I was applying all of the principles in real time with my team during the summer. So we spent about 70% of our trainings on inner game stuff.
That's sick.
Yeah. So like we would take a training and I would help them write out their statement of definite purpose.
That's cool.
In the summer. Right. And we did a Wim Hof so many times, dude. But I would walk them through visualizations of like what it was like finishing the summer strong. And I mean, no wonder the team killed it in August because for like 3 months straight, we were visualizing that we were going to be the best team in the company and the best team in August,
That's cool.
So that's like those are huge principles, I think.
That's something I love as well. Visualization,
Do you do that a lot yourself? Or is it like a thing you do on purpose or is it kind of natural? Because I know you're a big dreams and vision guy.
Massive.
Yeah.
I would say, honestly, listening to podcasts, I realized I didn't do it enough. As a kid, I used to do it a ton.
Okay.
Like a ton. I always dreamed.
Big
but
dreamer.
I'm like, most kids dream. Like I've noticed, like little kids, like they're always like dreaming. Like ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a pro athlete. Like I'm going to do this. So where does like real life just kick them in the face where they just stop dreaming? Sure. So I realized that with me, I was like, I feel like society tries to make you not dream, or you're like made fun of for dreaming, or like, I want a Lamborghini. I want to have financial wealth. I want to have a mansion of like 100 acres. Like, So I was listening, like, honestly, Ed Milet, or forgot who he had on, but it was like talking about just visualization and dreaming. And I was like, I noticed I do dream, but dude, it's okay to have like freaking crazy dreams. And so for me, like I started doing that again. And honestly, it started with this last summer. Okay. I just visualized myself being the top sophomore, top rep running a team, period. And so,
you were right.
Yeah, I knew it would happen. It was just time. I just needed time on the doors, time to get done. And then, yeah, dude, I love when you talk about visualization, because like there's a study, I know Ed Milet in this podcast is pretty big on it, talks about like shooting the basketball hoops.
Yeah.
Like literally the people that actually practiced versus the people that dreamed.
Just visualized it.
Was just as close as the people that practice. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, so if you do both, you're golden. That's the recipe.
Right. So. And that study is really interesting. So there's 3 studies that I've pointed to when talking about like the power of mental rehearsal, because visualization can take many different forms. It can be like, what am I visualizing? Well, I could visualize my life in 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's a different type of visualization than a mental rehearsal of like a skill, for example.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, but both are important.
Yeah.
So the power of being able to imagine something that's not yet real is just an essential skill set to success, I think. And it actually is what uniquely makes us human, or part of it, which is interesting. It's like my dogs can't visualize something in the future, right? They just act out of reaction to everything in their nature. But so yeah, anyway, that's a long tangent we could go on.
That's fun.
So there's 3 studies though that I've pointed to in terms of mental rehearsal. The first one is actually the free throw one. It's shooting free throws, and the group that shot free throws and practiced physically versus the one that just mentally rehearsed it, the mechanics. Another one is have you heard of the piano one? People practicing, so the classic pianists. And they took a group of classical pianists and they said, okay, so 10 of them, or I don't remember what the study was, it's probably more, but half of them would practice a new composition physically on the piano, and they would spend the same amount of time as the second group, which would only rehearse it mentally. And so they were not allowed to touch a piano, and they couldn't even move. They had to just visualize mentally and rehearse themselves touching the keys and like visualizing. So they would look at the music and same composition as the other group. And they found that the group that did not touch the piano over a course of like 10 weeks, they were able to play the song just as perfectly as the group that had been actually playing the piano, which is that's wild, dude, to think that that's real. The third one though is actually my favorite study, which is with powerlifters. Because like, yes, the piano is physical. Yes, shooting free throws is physical, but it's more technical, right? Like there's not a ton of strength involved in that. But like what's crazy is this third study where they took lifters and they had one group actually lift weights and the other group just visualized lifting weights. Yeah. And they had the group that visualized with lifting weights had gains in their strength similar to the group that was actually lifting. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So anyways, it's obviously super powerful. Big tangent there, but what's your process for like visualization and letting yourself like dream big about the future? Or do you or is it kind of just natural? It just comes to you?
Dude, I think one, it's like natural, but 2, like I've been trying to get it more structured as well though. Got it. So that way it's not like on Mars, right? Like I still want to stay on Earth for a little bit unless Elon changes that. But I would say right now it's just I talk about my whiteboard. A lot of my guys, like I love my whiteboard next to my desk.
Whiteboard.
Dude, I love that whiteboard. Realistically, I just put like physical, spiritual, mental, like what goals that I want to have, and then my brain will do the rest of like dreaming, like where this would take me.
That's cool.
And so, not too structured. I mean, probably could get better at that.
Is this something you do daily? Like you writing down these goals like over again, or do you have them written and then you look at them?
I usually do it every Sunday, just like weekly. And then obviously like I future pace myself a crap ton.
Like describe what that means, future pacing.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just putting myself in a position that will happen in the future. It's just I need time to get there. Yeah. And then putting myself in a position where the results that I want, like how to get there,
already happened. Yeah. And like you're imagining what it's like already having achieved what you wanted.
Yeah. Like this last summer, like I future paced myself. Absolutely. I was like, okay, I'm going to be running a team. This is how many studs I want on my team. Almost identical what I wanted. And then exactly like the amount of counts that actually we both talked about before I even had a team. That's literally wild. Is what we finished at. I think 40 accounts less than what we wanted.
Whoa.
Yeah.
When we did that practice before the summer.
Yeah. And I have your big paper.
The like massive Post-it
my
paper.
Wife's like, you want all this like scratch like drawing and stuff like this on your like desk, and it like fell down, and she's like, do you want me to throw this away? I was like, no, like,
never throw that away.
Hang it back. And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, dude, I would say like, yeah, future pacing yourself, dreaming, visualization, goals, like
huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. It's you get what you think about.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I was just reading 7 Habits this week where Covey talked about how he would do visualization exercises with his son, who was a collegiate quarterback. And as they were doing these practices, like in the games, he was just really nervous. His son was really nervous at first. And so Covey was confused. He's like, why, we're like visualizing success. Like, why is Sean nervous?
Yeah.
And as they talked about it, they realized that when he was doing the visualization, he was imagining that he would be uptight in those situations. And so that's exactly what he got, was when the situations came that he was visualizing, in reality, he was really uptight and nervous. So you get what you visualize at the end of the day. And that's why it's really important to be thinking about the right things, because you will get those. Whatever you're thinking about will become reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of books that go on that as well. Like in the baseball player in the World Series about the ground ball.
Oh, dude, yeah. So, is Ed Milet the one that tells that story?
There's a book about it. I can't even remember the book. I know Braden was talking about it, but I think Ed Milet, I guarantee he's talked about it.
Okay, will you tell this? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact name or who this and that. Was it Yankees or something? But ideally, pretty much baseball World Series. He like jokes to like an interview and just talks about what's the worst outcome that could ever happen?
My biggest fear is
to have a ground ball for the game winner or whatever, home run or right under me, or for someone to let a ground ball under them. Clearly that's on his mind. Like, why did he bring that up? Like, clearly, like, that's the worst thing that he wants.
Yeah.
He's spoken into existence and it happened. Like, literally
and they lost the World Series because he just missed a ground ball, like right under his glove.
And for pro baseball, like, that's a no-no.
Dude,
like, that's
wild.
Yeah.
And it was something like a year earlier is when he was asked that, like, what's your biggest fear? And the guy was like, my biggest fear is that I'll miss a ground ball and lose the World Series because of it. And then like a year later, literally the exact thing happened that he was most afraid of.
Yeah. Ever since like hearing that, I was like, well, I'm going to be careful what I say.
Well, yeah. And that's a cool lesson too. It's like not even just what you say, it's what you feel or allow yourself to feel. Right.
Yeah.
Because really our minds can't differentiate between, they can between positive and negative emotions, but like, the overwhelming emotions that dominate our mind are the things that we act out in reality.
Yeah.
Good or bad, it just doesn't matter. It's like our brains are basically a reality making machine, and it just says like, what are the strongest emotions that I have? All right, let's turn those into reality.
Yeah.
So if they're fear, then you're going to turn that into reality, the things that you fear most.
Yeah.
If it's positive and like full of good, really good things, then that's what you'll turn into reality. So when I was 21 years old, I had big dreams of a few things. Becoming a millionaire by the time I was 30, that was a big goal of mine. I wanted to own my own business, and I wanted to create financial freedom through investing in real estate, startups, any other type of vehicle that would give me passive income so that I could really provide for my family and my parents in a significant way because of how much they sacrificed for me growing up. I didn't grow up in the most well-off household, and so I really wanted to create a life for my family that they could be comfortable. I'm a grandchild of immigrants, and I had a lot of people in my life that came before me that have sacrificed a ton to create the good things that I have. I wanted to create financial freedom so that I could give back and serve significantly. I thought I was going to do that by, first off, playing football in the NFL. I obsessed over football growing up, but then I quickly got cut from my college team upon arriving, basically. So then I thought I was going to do that by getting into a prominent business school and excelling there, and then, getting a high-paying job out of college. And I didn't get into any of the business schools that I applied for, and there were more than one. So I had some, learning disabilities and a couple other things that felt like held me back in that way. Bottom line, it just didn't work. So after all the failed attempts to make money and try to achieve my dreams early, I was basically desperate and just really didn't think that it would all work out. I was doing a bunch of these hourly jobs and barely making ends meet and donating plasma, all the things you do when you're a poor college kid. I had a friend approach me and say that he had made $50,000 doing a sales job during the summer in between semesters. And he was a really well-known and highly prominent athlete. I had grown up hearing about how good he was at football. And so we became friends after I got home from a mission for my church. I just trusted him. So I looked into it. I ended up doing this sales job thinking that it would just be a better way to hold me over while I really figured out how I was going to provide financially for my family and really make a big dent in my dreams. Fast forward a few years later, I was with the same company doing that job over and over again while I was going to school, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now coaching and teaching other people how to do the same thing. It completely changed my life in a way that I did not expect, learning how to persuade and influence people at a high level because you practice that day in and day out. That translated over into every other relationship and aspect of my life that I care more about than just sales. And then obviously financially, essentially being able to get well ahead of all of my peers and the other people who were not willing to make those sacrifices of doing that sales job during the summer in the off months of school. And then fast forward even more ahead, I was able to become a millionaire by 26 and have a multiple $1 million net worth by the time I was 30, upwards of $10 million plus, and invest in real estate early on in my 20s, be able to give back and help pay for mission trips and do service opportunities that I just otherwise wouldn't have had. But what I'm most proud of is being able to give my family, my parents, my wife, my immediate family the life that they just really never had growing up. Because I think deep down, we all want to be the type of people that when all is said and done, we actually have made a difference in other people's lives. And I feel like that's actually really the deep result of what this job ended up doing for me in a way that I just did not expect. Long story short, I'm obsessed with teaching the same things to other people. And since I have gotten to management and now I'm a partner in our company, I've been able to work with upwards of over 1,000 sales reps who are young, ambitious, college-age kids mostly, who start doing this job just to pay for school, but end up finding out that it's highly impactful for every other aspect of their life. So right now we are hiring and we have limited spots available to take on of people. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description of this video or in my bio. You can check that out, apply and see if you're a good fit or a candidate for this job. We have personality profiles that can match you with income and earning potential that is very much historically accurate of people that have gone in our program before. And if you take the leap of faith and at least learn about whether this could be a good fit for you, I think you're going to be not only really impressed, but if your results are even half as good as what everyone else has gone through this program has experienced, the only problem that you'll have is that one, you didn't know about this sooner, and two, that you didn't sign up and try to do it yesterday. All right, so give it a shot. Check out the link in my bio, and I'll see you guys in the rest of the episode. Okay, so if you were to give advice to somebody that wanted to make six figures in their first summer of work with us, and like, let's say they're still in college, ambitious, they're wanting to like really make a dent in their future financially, what advice would you give them for their first summer? Somebody that wants to make six figures.
Yeah, I would say learn to take risk.
Okay.
I love interviewing people, and biggest thing I hear is like, oh dude, it'd be a kind of a risk for me to leave. But realistically, I like to like have a paradigm shift. Is it really a risk? You're leaving for 4 months. You're teed up to make no less than 30 plus. It's up to you.
Right.
And so I would say like, maybe I'm a very avid risk goer, as you talk about, like
yeah, me
with
too,
the crypto. So I'd say just learn to take risk. And if you can work hard and do it ethically, this is the place.
Yeah. Do you thrive in risk, would you say?
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude, I love a challenge.
Like if there's not an element of risk, then it's like almost not fun for you to do.
Yeah. Like I've learned to like tone it down. They say you don't want to be like too. Yeah, I can go on in stories about risk with and Hayden knows, but yeah. I would say I love a good risk, and just I like doing what people won't do.
Maybe more so that even than risk, right?
Yeah, I would say I like to do what people won't. Like ideally, like what
they're not willing to do, what most aren't. Yeah. It's like nobody's willing to go knock doors and like make a living at it and kill it, and you're like, yeah, that's why the income potential is so.
No, yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna go be the best at that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
What are the top attributes of someone who makes six figures in their first year of work with us, or in their first 4 months, their first summer? What do you think the top attributes, like, if someone has these attributes, like it's almost guaranteed that they're gonna win and make six figures?
Yeah, definitely willing to listen.
Okay.
Humble themselves and put their ego aside.
Okay.
Because most people that believe they can succeed, they have an ego that they don't need to listen to somebody else.
Interesting.
So if they're willing to put what they think they know to hit six figures in a summer aside and learn from someone that's done it consistently, they're going to outpace anyone.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah, I actually didn't expect you to say that for some reason. Not you specifically, but like I was thinking, hardworking.
Yeah.
But like tons of people are hardworking.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like it's a classic thing. Like, oh, what do you want to do to hit six figure? Hard work.
Got to be hardworking, have a really good attitude, which that's true.
You have to have that.
That's very true.
You have to have that. But ideally, if you got to learn from the people that are doing it consistently.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're only as great as you make yourself.
Put your ego aside.
Yeah.
I love it. Ego is the enemy to like all long-term success. I like fundamentally believe that. And that's something that is really hard to balance if you're ambitious, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the ego's, it's real.
Very, yeah. well, especially once you start seeing the kind of lagging results of the hard work come in, be they money or accolades or whatever, it's like really have to keep yourself in check with healthy gratitude and really just understanding like that we're all building on the shoulders of people that have come before us. So like we would be nothing without those that came before us, right? Whether that's our families or people that built the businesses before us, or really even those that like sacrificed for our country, right?
Literally.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so do you ever have people tell you that just door-to-door sales isn't a real job?
Not directly to my face, but I know it's out there. I know it's out there.
What would you say to someone that's like, yeah, Braxton, like, yeah, but just door-to-door sales isn't a real job?
I would ask them what a real job is. I would, yeah, that's a funny question because it's like, I work to have money. Why do you have money? To have freedom, to put food on the table. Well, what if I can do that now instead of doing it 10 years later? Yeah,
which is what most people are on track to do in their traditional paths, right?
Absolutely. I mean, 23 years old, married, beautiful wife, by the way.
Yeah, and she's awesome, dude.
Awesome wife.
And Sarah loves Lexi. I mean, like, I'm so glad they're friends.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, she's amazing. Puts up with me, but ideally, like we, you know, I had a family incident last year. I dropped everything, work aside, and nothing's holding me back. I can actually, I call that financial freedom. I can go visit my family, go do whatever, travel with Lexi, you know. It's great. So I would say
it's like you're actually, I mean, I know we work right now too, right? It's so flexible, but you're basically working like crazy for 4 months, 5 months, and then very flexible the rest of the year. Real freedom.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, no one's happy working at their Amazon, their FedEx. Like I hear it all day. Like, dude, what are you doing for work right now? Oh, like even just at the gym, like, like someone will ask me like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I do sales, pest control. Oh, nice, dude. And then usually, you know, what do you do? Oh, I work at Amazon or FedEx or whatever it is. It sucks. It's like, okay, yeah. So like, how sucky are you willing to go to like reap your reward? Because really, you're just doing suckiness to like hit bare minimum.
And it all sucks at some level. Yeah. So it's like just choose your suck, basically.
Choose your suck. Yeah. Choose your hard. Like And I'm willing to choose my hard for 4 months, so that way I can, you know, in the next 5 years, reap the reward.
Yeah. And you're like clearly doing that. It's like I've told most of the guys that have come on here that like my goal's always been that first off, when I first made 6 figures, my goal was that everyone that worked with me would make 6 figures faster than me. And it was the same when I made 300K and 5 and $1 million. It's like every time I hit those benchmarks, I'm like, all right, if I'm going to truly be like someone that is worth working with and have a life that is worth living for myself, then people that follow me or that do this with me that I really care about, they need to do it much faster than me.
That's cool.
Otherwise, I'm just incompetent because that means that I didn't actually leave any like breadcrumbs of success behind for anyone to follow, which is just freaking selfish. So, or incompetent is either of those. Yeah, that's funny. So, but like what's cool is I just see you doing it so much faster than I was doing it, which logically that would be the case, but also faster than many of your peers who are not only just with us, but in other industries or other companies within our industry. Yeah. And it's really fun to watch, man. I just feel blessed to not only work with you, but like call you friend.
Thanks.
All right. So Braxton, you've made over 6 figures. Well, basically in the last 2 years, you've made $300K almost. Yeah. Pretty much $300,000. Yeah. in a total of 8 months of work, which is crazy. Yeah. You're 23 years old. Will you just rewind your story for a minute and take me to like the place in your journey where you started, where you decided to do this job? Like what led up to that? Just talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, pretty much what led up to it is started dating long distance. My current wife now, but started dating long distance. Was working like part-time in sales, solar. Me and my buddy jumped in on a cinnamon roll business, ran that. Didn't go as planned. Obviously, we had big dreams of, you know, being the next Crumble cinnamon rolls or whatever. Sold that. And then, you know, I was like, you know what? I know sales is lucrative. Getting married quick. Don't have a lot of cash on me. I'm like, I want to do something super hard. Learn that trait of like actually pushing myself super hard, doing something that's fatiguing mentally, physically, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But very lucrative because got expensive taste, so I gotta provide for it.
Sure.
And so honestly, that is like the biggest step for me. But going even further than that, that was just like current, like what was going on. Going back to like a kid, my dad, pretty much what he would say is, work the hours now, do the hardest things that you can do now, so that when your kids remember, you can be there.
Oh, wow.
And so that hit me pretty heavily because honestly, all I remember in high school is I would have a soccer game. My sister would have a soccer game. Oh, it's home and away. It's opposite for men and women's.
Yeah.
He would literally hit my game first or her game first and travel to make the other halftime game.
So
back.
he had like the freedom to do that.
He had the freedom to do that. And obviously he didn't have sales. He didn't have this opportunity. He never heard of it. He said he would have took it in a heartbeat. But he worked super hard in his clinic, his practice in California. So that way, when we were all old enough to start remembering it, because he's like, when you were kids, bottle fed and stuff like that, he's like, I would love to be there, but I knew you wouldn't remember it. And now is what counts.
Wow.
And so that's like my biggest, I would say, biggest goal is I want to be that for my kids, my family, or for whoever, even friendships, relationships.
Sure.
If I can drop something to be there for someone, absolutely. Like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to be stuck on, having 2 weeks of vacation and I have to negotiate with my boss of controlling my time. And so I knew like sales would get me there. I knew sales would be it. I didn't know this would be it. But this has amazed me every year.
So growing up, that was like your huge motivation then. It's like, I see my dad able to like be here for me in a meaningful way, and like I want that for my kids. So whatever comes up that allows me to do that, I'm going to. And then and you served a mission for your / our church, right? And so then you get home from that, and if I remember right, you did some part-time jobs, and you were working for Apple for a second.
So I walked in the Apple store just to get a phone. I didn't have a phone. We don't have a phone for 2 years, and so I was like, I just need to get a phone. And they can correct me if I'm wrong on the podcast, but like, supposedly if you look it up, it's actually just as hard to get into Harvard as to get a job at a retail Apple store.
I've heard something similar. I don't know specifically what it is, but I've heard it's
someone told me that.
Difficult.
So I looked it up, and there was a article, and when I went in, so like they offered me a job on the spot. I guess I'm super personable, animated, and they're like, dude, you like belong here. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll take it. Got the job, and then when I was like,
they knew you were TikTok famous. That's what it was.
That's after. But they knew, pretty much I got the job, and then I was talking to all the guys in there, and they're like, dude, like, I've been applying for like 6 years. Like, how'd you get the job? And I was like, Daniel Dominguez, like, he just hired me on the spot. Like, he's like the manager. And they're like, what? Yeah, they're like freaking out. They've been trying to get this job for 6 years because they pay for school. Apple's a great company. Like, they take so good of care of their customer or their, employees. But pretty much, for me, it was morally, for me, things that were promised, and then they weren't going my way. So I knew I had to make an adjustment. And just helped me get here sooner.
And then so after that, you after you left Apple, all the things that you were doing, was it so that you could be financially independent early to get that goal of like being there for your kids eventually down the road?
Like that's always been just ingrained in me. Like my dad did a really good job helping me understand, like, whatever you do, be the best at it. And put yourself in opportunities, shake the right hands, meet the right people. And the buddies that you surround yourself with, if their net worth isn't bigger than yours, like ideally, like if they're not doing the right thing morally and they're not successful, like ideally you got to make adjustments. And ideally, like from working here, the people that I surround myself with, 10x my income. And I for my age group, everyone says you do well. I'm like, no, I got a lot to do. I got a lot of work on.
Well, dude, that's how I feel. I'm like, I spend a lot of time with you guys, but just like the circles that I try to level up in terms of like being mentored by people is like, you want people in those circles that are 100 million, 500 million, billion, plus net worths. It's funny. You know, what's crazy is I was just thinking about this actually. I was like, man, I really need to network with, like, I'd really love to network with some billionaires if I could, like, more, because I know a couple too, but I want to, well, I think I know actually probably 4, but 2 of them I'm not quite sure that they're actual. Like, they have never said that they are, but I'm almost certain that
you're like, they gotta be.
So I was thinking like, man, what's like the next step for me to be mentored by people? And I just want to get to know people in those communities a bit. Not necessarily because I want to like be like them, because I recognize now that net worth is very deceiving in terms of like whether you should actually try to be like those people.
Yeah.
But anyway, so but per my financial goals and what I want to do and contribute. So I reconnected with the guy that I met at the gym like a long time ago in Provo. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize how successful this guy was. He flagged me down the other day after I was walking out of Boston. He's like, hey, and flags me down. I start talking to him. I'm like, what's up, Kurt? And like weird chain of events. He and his son come to the office, and he gets to the office here. He's visiting. He's like, dang, this is amazing. He's like, I want my son to work for you. So his son is going to come out and work with us. And so I've been talking with him, and he's like, I was like, hey, let's just go to the gym, and I'd love to hear how I can help your son and stuff. So we go to the gym. Well, it turns out this guy's just like very successful. Wow. And he's like neighbors with some like multi-billionaires. And he's like, yeah, I'm happy to introduce you to these guys. Like they'd love to meet you and love to get to know you a little bit. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me, dude. Because I was not, it was like maybe 2 weeks ago I started thinking about that.
Wow.
And then that all of a sudden,
that's
like
cool.
Right there.
That's super cool.
Anyway, but that's like, it's cool because what I was getting at with that actually was like, if you don't feel like, I don't know, like on the low end of the totem pole with the people that you're trying to be mentored by, then you really have to check your ego, because and say like, man, I have a lot of room to grow, and the only way I can grow is if I can learn from people who have done more than me. You can't learn from someone. Well, you can learn from others, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm rambling.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we're missing in terms of your journey there? So, because I just want to round that off really well.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, that actually was my question. Is like, because I'm listening to your story, and like most guys / kids that are like in their early 20s, they're not like starting businesses, unless there's a deeper motivation for that. So that's why you went and started the cinnamon roll business, and why you were doing sales is to get that financial freedom early so that you could be very well set to be there for your kids down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then through a weird chain of events that happened with Moxie, and now you're like, dang, I could really build something.
Yeah.
It's cool. Sick, dude. Well, thank you for taking time to do this, Brax. I appreciate it. I'm jealous of your shoes.
Dude, glad to be here.
Actually,
the Nike app has just been blessing me, dude. So if you want my promo code, click the link.
It's my affiliate link if you want. All right, man. Thanks, dude. That was great.
Thanks.